here in South Dakota. We'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder to everyone to silence their cell phones, which is always a reminder to me to silence my cell phone. Meeting documents are available for review down next to Commissioner Heiberger, and Carol is here this morning if you need a listening device. With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item is to approve the meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2019.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item are bills to be paid in the amount of $779,755.83.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Commissioner Heiberger?
I'm putting DJ on the spot because he just walked in the door. DJ, sorry, we're talking bills. DJ. I was going to catch you ahead of time. It's a really easy question. I apologize. I didn't think you'd be here. One of the bills that was on there was the stop sign project, which we're spending close to $100,000 on. If you just make a comment, I have noticed the posts going up in the rural county, and so if you just make a comment about the stop sign project,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
Commissioners, DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. We recently started a project countywide where we are installing 2 stop signs and 2 stop ahead signs at every county highway intersection. Previously, on most of our intersections, we only had 1 stop sign and 1 stop ahead sign. And as a safety countermeasure to increase the likelihood that somebody will actually stop at the stop sign, we're installing those stop signs.
Just wanted to note that I had seen them out there, and then I saw them in the bills, so thank you.
And then in addition to that, with that bill, it's a big bill because there's a lot of signs, but there's also pass with care signs. When you approach a no passing zone, you see the yellow on the left-hand side, the yellow triangular sign that says no passing zone. And then there's striping that goes along with that no passing zone. In the wintertime, you can't see when the striping stops. And so at the end of each no passing zone, we'll have a pass with care sign on the left-hand side.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments about the bills? Okay, we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item are reports, and I notice the treasurer is here. We have the October 2019 auditor's account with the county treasurer, and then corrected auditor's accounts for April, March, February, January, and April, March, February, January 2019, December, November, October, September 2018. Pam, did you want to come forward and comment on those?
Well, I just thought if you had any questions, I'd try to answer them. But the status right now is that we've been working really closely with Dawn in IT, Kim in the auditor's office, and now they are balanced to the penny through April. And then they're all through with October, but they're still working on a couple things. The changes in the new accounting system and the turnover in staff made it a little trickier this year than it was in the past, perhaps, but they're pretty close to being totally finished. And we don't think it'll happen going forward. And there's one of the things with the new accounting system that's a little different is we have all these different departments and stuff entering all their own data. And so we used to do all that, and now the departments are doing it, and so it's easy to find a discrepancy. But it's usually, it's not necessarily wrong. It's just that we have to work it out and find exactly why it looked like it was different when in reality it wasn't. And that's what happened in the months before here. There were reasons that these things didn't work quite out. So we're optimistic that going forward, it'll be better.
Questions? Commissioner Bennigan.
Question, but thank you for getting these corrected. My question, I guess there is one. Have you changed policies and procedures because of the internal changes in the reporting system so that you know that where to look the next time you have this situation come up?
Well, I don't think it's a procedural issue as much as it is when you do with numbers, you can always make an error. But that's why we have accounting, and that's why we find it, and that's why we work until we balance.
Commissioner Heiberger.
Wasn't it IT that found the mistakes and not the treasurer's office?
Yeah, because Don was looking on it. Well, we were working together on it.
Yeah.
She couldn't have done it with our help. We couldn't do it without her, for sure.
Thankful for our IT.
So can you explain how, so a number of these were reports that we had approved earlier that showed kind of fairly significant swings, particularly as it got further along. Can you tell us what exactly you were able to
I can let Kelly
do?
do it, because she does the job. Kelly?
There were some checks that were not cleared from, like, I have to clear checks daily, and then when we download the file every day, there's other transactions that are in there, and so I might have accidentally deleted a check where Dawn was able to run a query of those checks to see if one was missed, and then I just went and cleared the checks, and there was a couple of things with payroll or tasks that actually needed to be on the spreadsheet when we didn't think they needed to be on there, when we had to reconcile payroll to roll it over to general as well, when they were shipped from payroll to general.
Comments?
And Kelly's new, pretty new.
If you could speak to the microphone, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
I usually don't need a mic. Kelly is new to the job, sort of, but she's being trained. But some of the stuff we do only happens once a year. So to be fully comfortable with what you do, it takes a little while. So, and we've not really had a problem in the past. We've identified it, and we're clear through April, and they match absolutely perfectly. And they're done almost, my understanding is, through October. And they're just looking on a couple of things. And we do work on a regular basis very closely with Dawn in IT and Kim in the treasurer's office.
Okay. Commissioner Heiberger?
Just one more comment to jump off of Commissioner Bendiga. You mentioned that Kelly's newer to the position, but policies and procedures would help that next person that comes in after Kelly has a place to start. And so if the policies and procedures have not been updated, that's something that needs to be looked at, so that Kelly doesn't have the stress that she has.
I guess
And-
how you define policies and procedures would make a difference here. We do things somewhat, basically what we do is the same, but how we're doing it is a little different. And when I came, we didn't have a backup, now we have a couple. So, but even then, even if you're the backup, if you only do something once a year, it takes a little while to do it. But the thing that people should be comfortable with is the fact that we have to balance with the auditor, and then the IT is backing us up as well. So we always have a record that's totally open to the commission and the state auditor. And there really haven't been any problems, but we did have some issues when implementing the new system, and other people are doing things, everybody's in the process of learning, so, and then we'll have another great opportunity next year because the state's introducing its new motor vehicle licensing system, which should add a little more challenge, but.
And I think what we're talking about for policies and procedures are actual written policies that you can look at in a handbook, and you go step by step by step as to what needs to be done. And, I think the expectation is that the treasurer, in your role as an elected official, would be the person responsible for making sure that's done and understanding how that all works, so that you can be overseeing your staff and training them as they go into new positions.
I do understand it, but it's not the job that I actually are literally doing. And we are working with the auditor's office, and we are working with IT, and we do have policies and procedures. We have a book we follow step by step, but that doesn't mean somebody can't make an error, and you still have to spend a lot of time finding where that error happened.
I think it'd be good if you could provide the policies and procedures and allow the commission to look at them so we could just see and verify that they're in place. And also, I think that IT, I think we're fortunate that we have great staff in IT and somebody who's trained in accounting in that office, but that's not the office that's charged with the responsibilities of your office. And in the future, we would not expect you to be relying on that person to do your own accounting and reconciling a staff. That should be done in your office.
It's still going to be with us to have to find where the error might have happened. And that means we have to work with all these other people who are entering the data into the books that we're keeping. I mean, the thing that's important is that we know to a penny where everything is and whether or not it balances or doesn't balance it.
Okay, well, I would ask that you get the policies and procedures so we have a chance to look at them if they're in place. And we appreciate you guys being here this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, there's several other reports there I'd recommend for your review. There's the Minnehaha County Highway Monthly Construction Project Update. That's always very helpful. They do a great job of keeping us updated on the status of their projects. The Minnehaha County Coroner Report, the Mobile Crisis Team statistics through November 19 shows again just what a fantastic addition that mobile crisis team has been, and great service they provide to the citizens of Minnehaha County in keeping so many people in their home instead of escalating matters, and the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Report for 2019. Okay, that takes us to personnel actions. I'd consider a motion to approve the routine personnel actions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item is to consider a resolution establishing the 2020 salaries for elected department heads. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning, Carrie Deaver from Human Resources. Before you should be a draft resolution to establish the 2020 salaries for elected department heads. You'll remember we use this format to go ahead and establish base rates for newly elected individuals, as well as the upcoming rates for current or sitting elected officials. During last week's discussion, you recommended, I believe it was a 2% adjustment for the auditor, or 4% for the Register of Deeds, and a 6% for the state's attorney. Those rates reflected at the bottom of the resolution include those percentage adjustments. So we're asking for your approval of that resolution today.
I think it was 6% for the sheriff, not for the
Sheriff,
state's
yeah.
attorney.
Oh, did I say state's attorney? Yes. Thank you for that catch for the sheriff.
Any comments or questions for Carrie? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Heiberger,
Aye.
Karski,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Bender.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to the next item, which is special commission action to approve an annualized salary of $130,000 for the interim state's attorney, Crystal Johnson, effective yesterday, December 6, 2019.
Correct. And that is a summary of it. As you know from the resolution, you were looking at a salary of $130,000. So this amount reflected here for Crystal is that $130,000 per pay period for the 2019 payroll year. And then as we transition to the 2020 payroll year, I think it goes up by a few cents to represent that 27th pay period.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're just looking at the numbers that are on the
Resolution.
resolution. And are they right the way they're written there? I'm sorry, I apologize. We didn't catch that before, and I know we're in the middle of a vote, so,
Well, we want to make sure they're right then.
Right.
yes.
Which ones are you looking at?
So my, go ahead.
Treasurer.
Yeah.
Those are the minimum.
Correct.
That's the,
And the current.
yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We're already past that one,
Oh,
and
we
we've
are,
got a
sorry.
motion and a second
I know
on
we
the.
are. It's just-
Okay, so I think the motion passed unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. So that takes, Carrie's busy today. That takes us to item D, which is special commission action to approve step increase for Monte Wattenbach to 25-16, effective December 13th, 2019.
The reason this one is appearing as a special commission action request is because this is a two-step adjustment versus one, and that two-step adjustment is in recognition of outstanding performance over the past year, the leadership, as well as the cost control during the Munis implementation project.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And that takes us to the last item, the most exciting one, which is always updates to the employee handbook.
Oh, yes, always exciting. There are quite a few proposed changes. I think you'll agree that most of these are minor. We're asking for the majority of the changes to be effective December 14th. And just walking through those, a quick summary is we're looking for an update to section 8.7, which talks about salary placement and demotion situations. We just wanted to clarify the language that it would be reflective of where someone would be at today's current salaries for the grade and stuff they would have been at if they'd never promoted or originally. So that's just a language clarification. 8.13, also just a language clarification to reflect that shift differential pay only applies to people who are actually on a shift, as opposed to maybe someone who works regular hours that overlap with 1 hour of the shift. 10.3, our proposed changes to our extended sick leave program. This is a little bit more significant. What we're asking for is your approval to extend providing that ESL benefit to individuals who have had a child or an adoption of a child. Currently, the policy allows employees to take 3 weeks of extended sick leave, no questions asked, meaning they don't have to prove there was a medical condition. They just get that. We're asking for your approval to extend that to 6 weeks instead. A lot of the reason for that is to ensure a little bit more fairness and equity in the program. Some doctors will approve 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it depends on the situation. So we're asking for 6 weeks for everyone. And then any time above that would be from the employee's paid time off accrual unless there was a serious health condition of the child. You might remember this is the same type of language change that we negotiated with the deputies union and the highway union. We just want to make sure that this benefit is extended to our general staff as well. 10.4, we want to remove a reference to orientation period in the PTO donation section. This is just a typo, honestly, that we didn't catch when we removed orientation period several years ago. And then 11.10, we want to clarify the employee assistance program sessions are for employees, spouses, and their dependent children, whereas right now we just say family members and don't define it. The last section we would like your approval on a change is to section 14.2. In this one, we're asking to be effective January 1st, 2020. This involves reimbursement for expenses. We work closely with the auditor's office on these changes. If you look at that, some of the more significant changes, and this has been sort of a complicated issue over the past 5-10 years in applying this consistently among different types of staff. But currently, meal reimbursement only applies to overnight travel. We're asking for your support to change that approach and allow meal reimbursement for same-day travel as long as the employee is gone over, appropriate time for breakfast or meal or dinner. So most of the changes that you see reflect those. We also have some additional cleanup language under lodging to explain that lodging expenses would be limited to the going market rate for hotel expenses. And then also some added language under mileage to talk about reimbursement for mileage expenses and making sure it's clear that does not cover a commute, for example. Any questions on any of the changes?
Any questions? I think we all had an opportunity to look at these in advance and ask questions we had earlier. If there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Karski,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Heiberger,
Aye.
Bender.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Very much. So the next item are abatements recommended for approval, and there are none. Notices and requests, there are none. Planning and zoning notices, there are none. That takes us to item 9, which is a petition for compromise of lien.
Good morning, Melinda Storley, Commission Office. This is a request to compromise lien DPNO 22901 in the amount of $19,102.12. The lien balance the lien has not been active since 1990. The balance represents hospital and medical fees for the lienee who deceased on December 28, 1998. Her son Brian moved into the mobile home on the property unopposed by his siblings, but never legally transferred the deed to his name. However, the mobile home on the property is in his name. He deceased on October 9th, 2018 as well. Now, just for a historic value, Brian did come before the commission about 20 years ago to request a compromise of lien on this property, and the commissioners did vote in favor to compromise it. However, he had 2 years to pay the $5,500 that he offered at that time to have it satisfied and never came through with it. Today, the petitioner, Lila Peterson, is a close friend of the family, is helping Brian's family, his wife Jennifer and 4 children, to build a new home for them to live in because the mobile home is in disrepair and will likely be relinquished to the mortgage company. Under the direction of the probate attorney, Jennifer, with consent from Brian's siblings, transferred the land deed to Lila on August 26, 2019, for $4,300. Lila paid $4,242 in back taxes from 2013 to 2018, and the $14 in public defender fees that were on the lien, and then contracted builder Paul Fick Homes for the new build. She states that the probate attorney had explained to her that the hospital fees on the lien would be taken care of. Now, earlier here in November, the commission office was contacted by Myers Building to ask about the process for compromising the lien, and expressed that the lienee's property had been sold and that the estate was insolvent. However, their office didn't follow up with an application. The petitioner would like to move forward on December 12th to close on the mortgage for the new home, but has discovered that the lien is still attached on the property. Now, the physical address was originally 205 North Douglas, but was updated by the county and is now listed as 26655 Douglas Avenue. Parcel 010551 is legally described as Outlot 1 to Rowena, Northwest Quarter, Southwest Quarter, 26101, 48 Split Rock Township. The action requested today by the petitioner is to compromise and release lien DPNO 22901 in the amount of $19,102.12 in full with no payment, or to compromise to release the real property from the lien with no payments.
Well, first, I would like to really thank you for doing such a great job putting together a memo, synthesizing what is a very complicated factual situation. So thank you very much. Is there any questions? Commissioner Karski.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great story, but help me understand, is there a relationship, family or otherwise?
I have been part of their family for the last 17 and a half years.
Just a second, I'm sorry. We're asking questions to Melinda, and in just a second, I'll give you an opportunity to talk as well. Thank you.
The relationship between the petitioner and the original people that the lien was placed on.
The petitioner is a longtime friend of the family and considers the children family, and has been close with them for many years.
Considers, but not, there's no,
No, there's no legal connection, blood connection, no.
Commissioner Heiberger.
The medical bills are on someone that has already
Deceased, yes.
deceased, and the amount of medical bills is more than the value of the property was in the first place.
Yes.
Other questions for Melinda? So the applicant is here. You can go ahead, and if you have something you'd like to say, you don't have to identify yourself, and you can just stay where you are. Thank you.
My name is Lila Peterson, and yes, I have been part of their family for more than 17 years. The 4 children range from 17, 16, 12, and 6. My son, my mother, myself, we all consider ourselves family. These kids are very wonderful kids and don't really deserve to be living in a house that's falling apart. I have the means to provide a home. They were in my trust prior to their father's death last year, and my son fully intends to, in the event of my death, take care of them. My son and the oldest just came home from a Green Bay Packers game, so that's as close as they are. Our house is done, and this $19,000, I just don't have the funds to come up with, because again, I took care of the taxes and all of that. If you met the kids, you'd really understand. The boys are both honor roll students in Brandon. If they lost their house and had to go into public housing in Sioux Falls, it would be more of a demand on the county. And this will allow all 4 children to continue schooling where the only home doesn't exist. And I fully intend to be part of their family. Again, I'm not legally their aunt, but if you ask anybody, you know, who I am their family. My mother, who takes them to Sunday school, is their grandmother. So I'm asking for your assistance to allow us to move into the house on Thursday. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Heiberger.
I would just say she's an angel, a neighborhood angel, looking out for somebody else's family. I don't the taxes have the back taxes have been paid. So I think that's a huge positive. She's built a house there for somebody to move in, which she's right. Without this, they're either living in a dump of a trailer house or they end up in county assistance programs. Putting them in a clean house helps these kids move forward in their own lives, helps the mother move forward, puts tax dollars back on the tax rolls, and cleans up the neighborhood. So there's a whole lot of positives to this. And I would make a motion to support releasing this lien against the property, specifically for medical bills of somebody who passed away a long time ago.
I would second that.
Motion and a second. Any further comments?
I would say that, obviously the estate is insolvent and that there's really no reason to pursue this legally or frankly morally. So I would be more than happy to dismiss the lien.
All right, I'm seeking a clarification if the motion was to release the lien from the property or to release the lien in full.
To release the lien in full.
And that was the second.
That's the way I
Yeah.
thought it.
Any other comments, questions? All right, roll call vote, please.
Benega.
Aye.
Heiberger.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye, motion passes unanimously.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to an opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone here today who'd like to speak about something that's not on our agenda today, this is your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward into regular business. Item 10 is to authorize the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office to enter into an agreement with the Sioux Falls Regional Airport Authority to provide certified law enforcement officers in the airport terminal. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Bosman with the Sheriff's Office. Excuse me. This morning, this is our annual renewal of our airport security contract with the Sioux Falls Regional Airport, where we provide certified law enforcement officers out there anytime that the TSA checkpoint is open. This is staffed utilizing part-time certified deputy sheriffs. We have a great working relationship with the airport. They're excited to have us. We're excited to be there. Gives them some exposure to those that are visiting the city, that we can welcome them with the smiling faces of our sheriff's office. So at this time, I'd ask if the commission could sign the agreement with the city of, the Sioux Falls Regional Airport.
Comments, questions?
I would make a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item is yours as well. It's to consider the following actions to proceed with the Sheriff's Office handgun holster purchase.
This has been a project that we've been working on all summer long, whether it be identifying which handguns we were going to transition to. We finally identified that, went out to bid under Minnehaha County bid 19-15. There was one bidder that placed a response to that bid. Keesler's Police Supply has met the requirements of the bid. We have worked a contract out with them to purchase 9mm handguns and holsters from them. Part of that purchase, we would be using the surplus of our current firearms inventory to help pay for this transition process. So the action requested at this time is twofold. First, declaring our current inventory of .40 caliber firearms as surplus for trade-in value, and then the second would be to accept the bid from Keesler's Police Supply for 9mm handguns and holsters.
Are there any questions?
Move approval.
I'll need two separate motions. So the first motion that we need is to declare the 108 Sheriff's Office .40 caliber handguns as surplus for trade-in value.
That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Benega.
Aye.
Heiberger.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously.
And I'd make the second motion, consider a bid award to the purchase of 9mm handguns, holsters, and authorize the chairman to sign the contract with Kessler Police Supplies, bid number MC 19-15. That's my motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other comments? All right, roll call vote, please.
Heiberger.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Happy
Thank you very
shooting.
much.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item, item 12, is to consider a motion to allocate $81,694 in proceeds from the Iron Planet auction on October 31st, 2019 for the sale of highway surface property to either the general fund or the highway fund. DJ, good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. On October 31st, we auctioned 9 items using Iron Planet's website. Those items ranged from a small trailer to a couple dump trucks, several pickups, and a small bulldozer. The total sale price was $92,900, and after about $11,200 in fees and commissions, the net proceeds is $81,694. Per South Dakota statute, the commission can direct into which fund those proceeds are deposited. More than likely, either the highway fund or the general fund. And so, requesting you to direct the highway department and the auditor's office which fund we should deposit these proceeds into.
Make a motion to deposit the funds into the highway fund.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Takes us to item 13. I think you're up here for a while now, DJ. Item 13, to authorize the chairperson to sign an agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for the 2020 rumble striping and pavement marking project.
Commissioners, to date, we have completed about 178 miles of rumble stripes in Minnehaha County on the edge line, the white line on the outside of the roadway pavement. This contract is for a 2020 project to do an additional 121 miles. This is using some state funding, some safety funds, and so 100% of the cost will be paid for by the South Dakota Department of Transportation. And additionally, for our benefit, the project is administered by the state of South Dakota as well, so we don't even have to provide any oversight for the construction project. This will give us a total of 299 miles of rumble stripes, and then in addition to that, this year with one of our projects, we'll be doing an additional 17 miles, which would bring us to 316 miles. We have 347 miles on our system, so that's about 91% of the miles that will be rumble striped after this summer. So with that, I request your authorization for the chairperson to execute the attached agreement with the Department of Transportation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In a second, I'll just make one comment. I noticed that I thought it was fascinating that the most frequent type of crash is a single car leaving the roadway, and I know that these rumble strips have helped me on occasion, and I know Commissioner Karski brought it up at one point, so I'm glad to really see this.
And if I could also, I rode with one of my sons last couple weekends hunting. I won't use his name, but I was very thankful because it seemed like he was always distracted one way or another looking for a pheasant or a deer, and the rumble stripes are just very nice to have there because it brought him back into the proper lane. So I'm personally am grateful too for rumble stripes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So that takes us to item 14, which is to consider bid results and award recommendation for Highway Project MC 18-10 and authorize the chairperson to sign an agreement with Knowles Dragline and Construction, Inc. for the replacement of structures 50-198-085 and 50-245-050. Bids were opened on November 20th, 2019.
Commissioners, we received 4 bids on that November 20th bid opening. Knowles Dragline was the low bidder. The project is for 2 box culverts. Both of them are on township roads, replacing existing bridges. One of them is south of Baltic within Swidrup Township. The other one is south of Eros in Logan Township. One of these, that first one, is small enough, actually, the box culvert will be small enough that it will be removed from our bridge system, so that will be turned over to the township after the construction is complete. The other one is a big enough box culvert that it will still be classified as a structure and remain on our structures list. After reviewing the bids, we're requesting you to approve the contract with Knowles Dragline. They were right in line with the engineer's estimate at $497,709.28. Construction should be completed on one of these next spring and the other one next fall.
Any questions?
Comment if I
Commissioner
could.
Karski.
One of the earlier reports was from the Highway Department projects updates and showed the box culverts that were replaced bridges, the after picture, and now we're kind of looking at the before. And my own perception, DJ, is that, well, first of all, they look a lot nicer, the box culverts versus the bridges, but are they safer also, I mean, for travel and for the people using the roads?
I would say generally the answer would be yes, because they're, when you install a bridge, it's not wide enough that you don't require guardrail and bridge railing. When you have a a box culvert, we install that wide enough so you don't usually have to have any guardrail or railing unless you're in a unique situation where that really deep ravine next to the road or something like that. And so we try to have recoverable slopes next to the box culverts and delineators there instead of some railing. And so typically if you want to look at safety within the roadway width, you're not going to be running into guardrails and things. So I would say that they're safer.
And these bridges lasted 85 years. Will the box culverts last that long? Hopefully.
We're expecting probably 100 years.
100 years?
It's hard to say because the research is so scattered at this time, but we would expect 100 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Karski,
Yes.
Benega,
Aye.
Heiberger,
Aye.
Bender.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Takes us to item 15, is to authorize the chairperson to sign a joint funding agreement with the cities of Brandon and Sioux Falls for the preliminary design of Maple-Park Streets.
This is a large project that you've heard a lot about. We've been working on for well over a year now. This is the Maple Street and Park Street corridor between Highway 100 and Highway 11. This is tied into the next agenda item as well. But this is a funding agreement between the three government agencies, and it's prorated based off of our jurisdictional authority. And we're moving forward, hopefully, with the next agenda item with a preliminary design agreement with HDR Engineering to do some environmental work and a 30% design for this corridor. And that will better prepare us to apply for some grants to help pay for the construction of this corridor. And so looking at the proration of this roadway segment and the cost of that proposed agreement, which is $169,150, the city of Brandon will be responsible for $18,602. The city of Sioux Falls will be responsible for $41,639, and Minnehaha County will be responsible for $108,909. Both of the city councils have already reviewed and signed this agreement, and so now it's coming before Minnehaha County for signature.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Benega.
I'm not sure if I missed this or not, but could you tell me again how many cars are anticipated to use that road when it's all done?
That's a good conversation. We don't know because the completion of the South Dakota 100 corridor will greatly impact the regional traffic flows, and we don't know exactly what it will do. We've done a lot of traffic estimating. We think that in the next 5 years, there's going to be over 6,000 cars per day on Maple Park, and I can't say that with 100% certainty just because there's so many assumptions that goes into that. Right now on Holly Boulevard, just north of this, there's I think about 9,000 cars per day, between 9,000 and 10,000 cars per day. On Madison, just south of here, I think there's around 7,000 cars per day. Both of those are at capacity during their peak hours, and it's a very heavy traffic flow, so there's going to be a lot of people that will want to use this corridor. This corridor it ties into the southwest portion of Brandon, and so it's going to be really easy for people to travel southwest from Brandon and then west into Sioux Falls, as opposed to like Holly Boulevard where they would have to go north and then west and then south again to get to Sioux Falls. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier route for them to use, and there's going to be a lot of Holly Boulevard traffic that will move down to Maple Park.
I frankly think it's a great project because, believe it or not, I was on that a couple of weeks ago, and I'm amazed how much traffic is on that.
Considering the quality of that road and the topography in that area, I think it is amazing. DJ, I know you've told us this before, but can you remind me, is that currently a township road?
It's currently a township road for the majority of this length. There's some that's city of Brandon, east of the Big Sioux River, but the majority of it is Split Rock Township.
But Split Rock Township's not participating in this study.
They're going to participate as a stakeholder, but we did not ask them to participate financially.
Okay. Other questions, comments? I will say at the township meeting several weeks ago, I had a number of people come up and ask me about this project and the status of the project. There is certainly a lot of interest in the community towards seeing this move forward. So, all right.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to item 16, which you said is a related item.
Commissioners, this is the actual preliminary design agreement with HDR. The tasks that are involved are 30% design for the roadway. That includes sidewalk and ditches and all of the grading. And then some storm sewer. And then there's an archaeological survey and wetland delineation as part of the environmental services that is required for the grant application to be probably more successful. And so the completion of this, we were hoping for June, but we wanted to have this agreement signed almost 2 months ago. And the previous agreement just took a long time to route through the different agencies. And so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to complete the field survey yet this winter with winter conditions in order to be completed by next June. And so we have the completion date of December 31st of next year with this agreement, but we're hoping that we can still get enough information compiled in order to apply for this build grant next July. And if that's the case, the completion of this work will probably be next August or so. And then from there, we'll be going through the grant application process and hopefully eventually enter into a final design once we receive a grant in the next year or two.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to item 17, which is authorize the chairperson to sign the 2020 lease agreement with Metro Communications Agency. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Miller, Commission Office. Before you today is the annual renewal of the lease that you have with Metro Communications. Metro Communications is located within the Public Safety Building, and 2 or 3 years ago, we just put a CPI cost escalator in there so everybody can do their budgeting and planning according to that. So with this, the lease rate would be $11.82 per square foot for a total of $50,778.72 paid in 12 monthly installments. I would share that the county provides utilities, housekeeping, and upkeep as part of this lease.
Questions, comments?
Motion approved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to item 18, which is Commissioner Liaison reports. Commissioner Benega.
I think all of you received this mass document about a conversation we had last week, I think it was, with Metro Communications, and we have another meeting tomorrow afternoon. I don't think that this will be finalized for a while yet, but there's lots of conversation on the opportunity or need for a new facility, and the mayor has proposed, after looking at lease options and purchase options in other locations, that they use some of their property that's northeast of the airport, and it's 3 to 5 miles away from the, quote, backup center, which is important. It also has the opportunity to be part of a grant that the Air National Guard may have soon. So leasing wasn't an option. In fact, the lease purchase or the lease of that facility in a different location outside of the city limits was extremely expensive. There's 2 things that were asked to be clarified. One of them was the MOU that doesn't really talk about the building of a joint use facility and how that would be funded and how much each county or the city would be responsible for. And the other thing, I'm confident and can be corrected if I'm wrong on this, Maggie, but it's our understanding that 2 government agencies can't support the same facility with bond issues to be able to use real estate, if you will, as a secured piece of property. It has to be one or the other. You can't have both. So there's some questions about how that would all work, and obviously we've talked about in the financial package that we saw a couple of weeks, a month or so ago, that we did appropriate some dollars in that. We'll have to figure out how we could make that work. And right now the finance departments and Scott from the Metro Management are working on some of the details, which is, of course, always where the hassles start to become an issue. So it'll be an interesting conversation at some point. I apologize for not getting that information to you before, and I frankly thought that was sent out by Metro Management, but it wasn't evidently. So we'll have time to dissolve it, look through it, figure it out, probably move forward.
Are you here to talk about that issue,
I am
Otter?
indeed.
Okay.
Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. I'd like this body to know that from 11:30 to 1:30 today, Kim and I are going over to meet with City Finance, and we'll see how it goes. So.
Good.
Thank you. Anything else on that issue? Okay, if not, Commissioner Heiberger.
Additional liaison reports. I met with Human Services this last week. One of the programs that's under Human Services is the Alliance program. There's a group of individuals with that Alliance is involved with that last October identified the 12 top super utilizers in our county, and then how could they affect that. And since October, 6 of those 12 have been linked to services. And so we're talking people that are, running through the jail system, running through our services, running through the hospitals. And by going one-on-one and working through them, they have 6 of them. And the stories were quite interesting to listen to Carrie, to hear some of the stuff that they've been able to work through, which is 6 and 2.5 months. The other thing that she brought up was funeral expenses. If you look at your budgets, we're getting close to the end of the amount of money in funeral expenses, although hopefully we will make the end of the year. I think we have about $30,000 left in that budget to through the end of this year, which can roll over into January, and hopefully we'll be able to cover. We did not increase the budget expenses for funerals this last year, and I think we're going to come right down to about the last dollar in that account, which thankfully it was budgeted well. And then the last one is on Monday of this week, both Brett and Becky, who are Alliance staff, traveled to Mankato with a group that was paid for by the Safety and Justice Challenge to look at a program called the Yellow Line Program, which Mankato, Minnesota has instituted. It looks at the zero intercept of a person. So before they're involved in the all the different services we have, how do we affect those super utilizers or whatever, so that we can, how do we affect them before they end up in jail, before they end up in court system, before they end up in all the services we have. And so just went to Mankato. I have not heard how it went, just know that there was a group that traveled to look at that programming, and I'm sure if there's something valuable, we'll be hearing about it in the future. And then the last one, I'll just speak slightly on it, maybe Commissioner Bender has an adding, and that is we had our legislative breakfast this last week. Commissioner Bender and I both went. There was about 21 people there. I'm thinking about 7 legislators, but I didn't count specifically, so about that. We had a room full. We met for a little over an hour and talked about the legislative platform that we had approved with the municipalities earlier this summer, and went through each one, and then had a report from Senator Deb Soholt on what the summer studies on mental illness had done and some of the direction that they had. And I would turn it over to you for additional comments.
The only comment I was going to make is that Commissioner Heiberger ran the meeting and did an excellent job. It was great communication, honestly. I think the legislators appreciated it. It's I think the 3rd year we've done that, and I think it's definitely a meeting that everybody feels like is worth the investment of time. I think we had an opportunity, we have representatives from cities and counties that come to that meeting, and it gives us all an opportunity to have a pretty open and honest conversation with the legislatures, and in turn they're open and honest with us about things that are doable, things that are going to be a heavy lift. And so I think just in visiting with folks as we were leaving, everybody felt like it was a great opportunity to share challenges, share ideas, and see where we can all roll up our sleeves and work together to get some good things done for the folks here in South Dakota. So, Commissioner Karski.
New liaison report, if I may.
Absolutely.
This morning, Commissioner Bender and I at 7:30 were at the Public Defender's Office for the Public Defender's Advisory Board meeting. Very, very good meeting. Personal opinion or observation. It wasn't crisis management. Earlier we talked about having programs and systems and proper delegation of authority in place. And I would say in the last couple of years that our public defender, Tracy Smith, has done a fantastic job of getting those things done, having the right people do the right jobs, the delegation, having the systems. Everything seems to be flowing very smoothly. One of the other board members made a comment after the meeting how it was just a delightful meeting to be at because we weren't facing crises or trying to put out fires, basically, so.
I would agree. It was a really good meeting. We had an opportunity to meet the 3 supervisors in that area that supervise basically violent felonies, nonviolent felonies, and misdemeanors. I learned a lot, and it does seem like there's a good process in place to provide new attorneys the support and training that they need, and then allow people to move through the system as they develop skills and expertise and focus on areas that they're particularly interested in. The tone was very positive, so.
And I get the impression morale is pretty good in that office too, so.
All right, any other liaison reports? New business, any new business? Any old business? All right, if not, I'd entertain a motion to recess the Minnehaha County Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll recess until 10 o'clock, and then we'll go into executive session. Thank you.